How good at you are you at seeing the love in everyone all the time? Honestly, yes. Do we all share a feeling that, okay, we got a ways to go on that still, maybe? Several of us are working on that during these 6 weeks before Easter, April Fool's Day. Do you remember what we talked about doing a couple of weeks ago? Anybody tell me what it was? Okay, that tells me about how many of you are actually doing it. Okay, thinking of something positive every day. That's on the right path. Fasting from negative thoughts.
Practicing a true Lent.
Yep. The Fillmore's term for it was keeping a true Lent. And that was actually the suggestion that Charles Fillmore made, that during those 6 weeks we work on fasting, not thinking any negative thoughts. I haven't succeeded in doing that. I chose a buddy, and I chose my wife, Nancy. And, I mean, she's right there, right? And so I've shared with her times when I've been aware, and I'll share with you a couple of times when I've been aware, and I've actually found myself learning about thoughts that are still in me from early in my life. You know, it's an endless source of energy for improving, for increasing my consciousness. I can always go back to that. There's something about, as Reverend Victoria was saying last week, there's something about times when we got hurt, we got scared, when we were really little, like before we could talk. And we felt scared, we couldn't deal with it. You know, there wasn't anything we could do. So what did? We wrapped it up in a nice package and stuck it in a back corner in our memories and hoped we'd never see them again. Right? Because it was painful. Why should we want to see that again? But the thing is that life is always happening in a holographic way. Everything that can happen does happen all the time. And being finite beings, we can't deal with it all the time. So we've got a neat little process where we say, okay, I can't go there right now, too much. And we automatically wrap it up and stick it in a corner. So we all have lots of packaged up ideas, beliefs, fears, thoughts, experiences that at some point, when we have gained awareness, when we have gained strength, when we have gained experience, we could actually look at that again and say, oh, okay, I don't have to think that way, and let it go. So what I want to talk about today are several things. Basically, the oneness of the universe. We all have all kinds of things happening all the time, and we're all active in the life of the universe all the time. What is the universe? What does the word even mean? A couple of faces like, anybody got a thought? Pete?
Yeah, Because it's what our Creator created.
It's what our Creator created. Okay, that's one way of approaching it.
One
That,
song.
huh?
One song.
One song. Ooh, I like that. What means, what does the word actually mean? Huh?
Oneness.
One. Where's the one in the word? Uni. Okay, you got it. It's one. What's verse? One song. which is a lovely analogy.
Or a story.
One story, one. The word actually means turn. One turning. Everything is turning as one. Everything that we think, everything that we say, everything that we do is part of that one turning that's going on. And awareness, as we experience that, is spiraling higher. It's growing, it's evolving. That's always going on. Everything that we say, think, do is contributing to that evolution of one awareness. Can you get your head around that? And I don't think any of us really can. But it gives us something to think about, for sure. Oh, I just said that. I didn't mean to. Others, that energy goes out. When we say something that's love, that energy becomes part of the turning of the universe. When we forget that we can be at one with the love that is the universe, the loving energy, that energy also goes out and affects the universe. And we all, one time or another, we all do both of those things. So it's a question of unbalance. How are we contributing to the evolution, to the upward spiral of awareness, of love? I found two quotes that bear on this and shed some light. One is Rabbi David Koop, who says, quote, "Nothing is inconsequential. Every grain of sand holds amazing secrets. Each event contains mysterious messages. Every encounter we have with another being is a point of contact on which the universe pivots. From this perspective, we come to the realization that every piece, including us, is integral to the unfolding of creation." End quote. There's an important concept in there I found. That is, the unfolding of creation. Wait a minute. Didn't creation happen at some point? Right? We got the story of Adam and Eve and the days and the night and the light and the dark and yada yada. That happened, right? How many years ago did that happen? Who knows? The unfolding of creation? Yes. Spiritual teachers and quantum scientists are coming together in our unfolding awareness, and yeah, creation didn't just happen and then stop. We are participating in ongoing creation. Evolving consciousness is creation continuing.
Yes,
Yes,
it evolves every day.
that's right. Evolves every
Second.
millisecond.
And so are we.
And so do we. Exactly. We're one with it. So, stop the world. I want to get off, huh? You can't get off. You know, it's like, okay, here we are. It is. And it's not something to feel anxious about. You know, it's all part of divine order. So you step on somebody's toes, or you make them mad, or you do something that's not very loving. That too is in divine order. Because what happens when you get hurt, really and truly, after you become an adult? After you become an aware, powerful, human individual? What happens with the things that make you mad, that scare you?
You learn from it, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great opportunity to learn something.
And then to forgive.
Huh?
And then to forgive.
Forgiveness is one important learning. You grow from it. Your awareness grows. You get stronger. You think, oh, I don't need to do it that way. Let's see, how can I do this differently? If you look back in your life, you can think of all the things that people did that hurt you. And I expect that anybody who's sitting here, meaning all of you, actually can think of ways that each of those things was helpful to you, that helped you grow, that helped you become wiser, that helped you learn more about love. When we are aware of acting from love, we can be really powerful in the lives of the people that we meet, or in the life of the planet, or in the life of another being, or other beings in general. I just think of a very simple, temporary example. There are people signing up for our SEE week, thank God. And last week, there were a couple that signed up, and I had a little bit of time, and so I emailed them and welcomed them and said we were looking forward to meeting them and getting to know them. And about a millisecond later, my cell phone rang. I thought, oh. And it was from Tennessee, and one of these people was from Tennessee, so I picked up and said hello. And it was a minister from Chattanooga who is all excited about SEE Week. And he said, I'm just calling because I am looking forward to this so much. And I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and being with a bunch of Unity people. And it's just making me so happy. And then he asked me about us a little bit, and you know, he was very friendly and he was so positive and loving. It was like a 1.5-minute conversation. Oh, I felt so good. My whole awareness, my whole energy was uplifted by his reaching out in love and just saying, hey, I'm looking forward to this. I am happy about what you're doing. Kind of made my day. You've had that happen to you, right? Yes. That kind of thing? And does he know the powerful impact he had on me? Probably not. You know, he probably felt good doing it. And he is happy about it, and it affirmed his happiness, and he went on, he was driving. So he went on wherever he was going, and his day continued. But I felt blessed. And I expect that whoever I met next probably felt blessed too, because my energy was still happy and loving from that conversation with him. How far did that go? I have no idea. We don't know. It can happen the other way too. If we encounter somebody and we're in a bad mood, day's just not going right. I found a little poem by Mark Nepo that described it perfectly. It's called Love is a Guess. He says, any patch of life is emblematic of how interconnected everything is. The sad, oppressed mother of 3, so tired after work, just left fumes of her sadness at the counter in Target. And the cashier went on break and had a wave of melancholy she couldn't explain. It's astounding that any of us make it through the day remaining ourselves. I want to meet each soul as a canvas that each day is blooming with colors we can't know ahead of time. All of these responses in us from our encounters with other people come from our store of previous experiences. We don't know that's where they're coming from. Like the lady who had met the grumpy mother and then felt sad and didn't know where it was coming from. We don't know where those things come from. We don't go in intending to bite somebody's head off when we do we? I usually don't. But I can get pretty upset and get kind of rebellious and grumpy. And then afterwards I go, oh dang, shouldn't have done that. Where'd that come from? You ever asked yourself that? Where did that come from? It comes from those inner shadow selves, which, as I say, are a lifelong store of things that we can learn from. That example that Nepo gave of the grumpy mother and how her fatigue and her gloominess affected the other people around her resonated for me. We actually had an example of that a couple of weeks ago here at UCP. It was a day when, as we went through the day and we talked to people before the service and after the service, and we participated in meetings, people were having a hard time with each other. People were getting mad at each other. And I remember thinking with you, what's going on? You know, if we believed in the devil, that would have explained it, right? Oh, the devil just is right in our midst here. But we don't believe in the devil. So we couldn't use that explanation. So what the heck was going on? And then we found out that earlier in the day there had been a discussion where some people had ended up feeling bad. And nobody intended to take that with them through the day. But people did. And it bled onto others. And that's just what happens. I have to say that I was very impressed, because during the week after that really bad day that we had, and the following Sunday, quite a few people used their awareness very nicely to recenter, to remember what love is and what we're all about and how to be it. And the unhappiness dissipated during the week as people took action with themselves. And that awareness that, okay, we're always available to be love. How can I do it now? Is something that stands us in good stead and stood us in good stead over that week. So it made me think, can we work up a process that we can actually use awarely, use consciously, when we find ourselves in the grip of feelings we don't want? It's really hard to get rid of them in the moment. Have you noticed? They're like Velcro, and they have little hooks in us. And no matter where you go, you're still thinking about that same thing. It keeps coming up. So I did a little bit of poking around and thought, okay, so what would experts advise us to do in that kind of situation? So we all have a process that we can just get rid of those kinds of feelings. The first thing that comes up is go into mindfulness. How do you begin the process of being mindful? What's the first thing you do?
Center yourself.
You center. What does that mean? You get quiet, you slow your breathing down. And what do you do with all the thoughts that are hopping around like popcorn in your mind? What do you do with them?
You let them pass through. Just pass through.
Let them pass. Anybody have a way to do that that works for you? Duncella?
Start thinking of all the things I'm grateful for.
Okay, replace them with something else.
And then gratitude.
That's a good strategy. Just think of all the positive things so you crowd them out.
Take each thought, put it in a box, put it on a conveyor belt.
Okay, I like that. That's great. Just take a thought, identify it as a thought, put it on a conveyor belt and send it on its way. Did you have your?
Just repeating a mantra or an affirmation.
Yes, repeating a mantra that displaces it. Bye.
For me, it works to distract myself by thinking of something completely different and letting that fall apart,
Mhm.
fall away.
Right.
And I'm thinking of something else that is a happy thing.
Okay. Replace it with a happy thought. I find it works really well for me to just say, oh, thinking. And there's something about doing that that, sort of dismisses it and says, well, I'm not going to pay any attention to it. And it goes poof. And when I do that over and over and over again, it doesn't take long, maybe a minute or two. And they stop. So all of those are ways to use mindfulness to transcend, to change, to get out of the Velcro feeling that you don't want. That's step one. Somebody mentioned affirmation. Yes. Eric Butterworth, in his new book, Practical Metaphysics, is talking about this very thing, about getting rid of negative thinking. And the affirmation that he suggested is, the ground of my being is the vibration of divine love. Isn't that a nice one?
Say that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ground of my being is the vibration of divine love. Repeat it after me. The ground of my being is a vibration of divine love. Feel that. The ground of my being is the vibration of divine love. And just being in that awareness. And Butterworth also made a suggestion about a mantra, a little phrase that he said he repeats at the beginning of every day, and every time he starts something. He goes to work, he repeats it. He goes into a meeting, he repeats it in his head. He meets somebody that he wants to talk to, he repeats that in his head. It's his habitual inner introduction to any encounter, and it's very simply, let something good be said. Let something good be said. So again, if you repeat that and make it yours and practice using it over time, it puts you in an awareness that, okay, I don't want to go off the handle. I don't want to respond from my physical self. I want to go into absolute awareness and respond from love. We always have that choice, even though I know sometimes for me, I think that, and then I think, but if I don't say something about this, what's going to happen, right? The fear takes over. And so an underlying awareness of that has to be divine order. Spirit will take care of whatever I don't try to take care of and turn over. Let something good be said, period. And be aware in love. It's an ongoing daily practice. So, how many of you got a positive thinking buddy? All right. How many of you would like to get one? 1, 2, look around, see the hands. 3, okay. 4, okay. 5, okay. Everybody with the 6, everybody with their hand up, look around. Know who you want to become a positive thinking buddy with. Make that your first agenda item after the service. Okay, go find that person. And if you all come up here, you'll find each other. Okay? Just come up here, right here, and figure out who's going to be whose buddy. Like I said, I've been doing this with Nancy, and it's very interesting. For instance, I told her one day I was at a meeting, and it was full when I came in, and there was one chair left. I didn't like the looks of the person that the chair was next to. And I didn't think about it a whole lot. I went out and I got a chair someplace else. And I brought it into the room and sat down on it, where I wanted to sit. And I thought about that afterwards, and I thought, I was not acting lovingly when I did that, was I? I told Nancy about it, and we talked about it. And it made me aware of how judgmental I really had been in that moment. I was certainly not acting according to what I know about everybody being an expression of love. I was not acting according to what I know that nothing can happen to me unless I let it. That I would have control in that situation of how to think about, how to process, how to respond. And as long as I was responding from love, I was protected. So we talked about that, and I thought about it. And I thought, okay, the next time I encounter that situation, I am going to purposefully go and sit down next to somebody I don't particularly want to sit down next to. And use that as an opportunity to raise my awareness I would never have even realized what I had been thinking if I hadn't shared it with somebody else. And doing that kind of sharing is how we learn from having a buddy, from sharing it with somebody else. We are mirrors of divine love for each other. And we can't have that without sharing. So, just a little reminder that you might want to play around with this. So, the universe. We are the universe. Its creation is always evolving right now with all of us. And how we are present puts love out into that energized evolution. Or gives people opportunities to grow in love, either way. And so I envision all of us sharing this exercise, this practice, during the next few weeks, during March. And as I said before, we'll set up a day near the very end of March to come together and share what we've learned by doing this. And I anticipate that we will have together a wonderful reason to celebrate new consciousness awakening in us. For Easter, what better thing could we celebrate? And so it is.
So it is.